Hi, I'm Jack Sosinski and you're watching me on Run Forest Run TV. I'm a professional triathlete and work at Mike's Bikes in Miami, and I've just come back from Europe where I spent a few months over there doing the World Championships over the 70.3 distance, as well as a couple of other races in the Ironman 70.3 circuit over there. So I raced in Australia at the start of the year and then went over to Europe at the end of June and went straight to France where I did 70.3 Les Sables Delon, which was my first race. So race under a little bit of jet lag, but got into the time zone pretty quickly. I come 8th in that race, which I was actually quite happy with that. There's some really top level guys in there racing. Leon Chevalier, who ended up getting 5th at Nice, was racing, as well as a few other big European names, such as like Pierre Lecour, a short course guy. He came 3rd and ended up winning at WTCS later on in the year. So that was the first race. I was actually really happy with that. And then from France, I went over to Spain in Banyoles, which is about 20 minutes out of Girona, which is probably one of the most well-known training camp places in the world. So we trained in Banyoles for pretty much the duration of my 3-month stay with some other. I ended up staying with Matt Hauser and Brad Course, two of my training partners, and we also had another couple of people come and stay with us for a few weeks at a time. So we had Lachlan Jones and Jamie Riddle there as well. Jamie's a South African triathlete. But yeah, it was just awesome training over there. Banyoles has this massive lake, a freshwater lake in the middle, so most of the swimming was done there, as well as I've got 2 25-meter pools and just hills and really nice trails everywhere. It was really hot over there too, so it was really good to get some heat training in. Yeah, so it's good to do that first race in France to sort of get a bit of a indication of where I was in relation to some international athletes, as I'd never raced any long course or middle distance races overseas at an international level before. So I swam and ran decently at that race, but I definitely was lacking a little bit of power on the bike. So when I went to Banyoles, that was a big focus of mine, was increasing my bike Ks and just trying to build as much strength as possible on the bike. So once I got to Banyoles, got over the race, I sort of had a good maybe 6 to 8 weeks where I was just consistently doing about 30 hours of training a week, which is something I actually never really had got to do before, because obviously with like work and uni and other commitments here, it makes it hard. But over there, it was good to just lock in for those 1.5–2 months prior to the World Championships in Finland. And the training went pretty much like all to plan. I was really improved my swimming with guys who I mentioned before, like Matt and Brad, who are elite swimmers in the short distance, which really helped push me, and they're great runners as well. And then being able to do some riding with them and some others as well was great. I did get a little bit sick towards the end of the training camp. I got I'm not sure, I still don't know what it was. I think it's either some dodgy Mexican or something else I ate, but I got some food poisoning about 2 weeks before the race, and it sort of zapped the energy for the week leading into the race. So I was still confident heading into the World Champs that I was able to put together my best performance I could, despite the food poisoning episode. So yeah, it was the Spanish lifestyle is everything's a lot slower and later than the Aussie training lifestyle. So here, I'm normally getting up before 5 and trying to hit the road around 5 or 5:30 every morning. Whereas in Spain, you wouldn't see anyone out until about 7 or 7:30 at the very earliest. So the earliest I would sort of train of a morning would probably be about 7:30, but we'd be training as late as sort of like 8 o'clock at night. And yeah, it was just such a good environment to get the 30 hours in. Like you could do a lot. You could probably do double that if you really wanted to. There's that much time in the day and that many roads and hills and places to run. But I was swimming on average between sort of 20 and 25K a week across 5 swims. So 2 of those would be open water and then 3 in the pool. I was riding most days, so sort of 5-6 days a week, doing around that 500 to 550 Ks. A lot of hills in there. I did my first couple of horse category climbs, which are sort of the highest level of category of hill climb out on the road. So some of the climbs I got to do were amazing. The Volta 2000 was the biggest one I did, which got up to 2,100 meters above sea level. And I've barely left sea level in my life, so I was certainly feeling it at the top of that hill. And then doing other hills like Roca Corba and Els Angels near Girona, and just riding through Girona was awesome. Seeing pro cyclists everywhere, seeing pro triathletes as well was really cool. Past a few people wearing like the Ineos and Jumbo Visma and Israel Premier Tech jerseys, and riding past the team cars was pretty cool as well. And then the running was sort of between 80 and 90 Ks a week on average. So a few track sessions at the Olot track, which is out of Banyoles, but most of it was around the lake in Banyoles, which was a 6K gravel loop, and made it nice on the bones, having some softer surfaces, which are a bit hard to find on the Gold Coast. It's probably the one downside of running along the beach, is it is a bit hard on the bones, but yeah, that was good over there. So I got to Finland on the Monday. So it was in Lahti, where was the place of the race, which was just north of Helsinki, which is the capital. I think it's the capital. I have to double check, but that's where the airport was. But yeah, so it was actually the Tuesday I got there, and I was actually lucky enough to get a homestay with some coaches from one of the local tri clubs in Lahti, which was awesome. Me and another pro, a pro from Chile, Martin Alua, who I've done a few races with before. We stayed with this couple who lived in this big family home. Their kids had moved out of home, so we both had a bedroom each, and it was awesome. They had a sauna and an ice bath and recovery boots and everything. They had the full setup, and they cooked us meals every night. So it was perfect place to stay leading into the World Champs. And then the training there was quite good, lots of trails, and one thing I noticed was how crisp the air was. Obviously being up a lot further north in Spain, it was the climate was completely different. It was actually quite fresh of a morning, whereas Spain I was in 30 to 40 degrees for sort of 10 weeks. So I felt really good leading into the race, and then had all the pro briefing and everything in the days leading up to the race, which was my second World Champs now, but it was still a really cool experience to be in the same race briefing as guys that I've been looking up to throughout my sort of teenage ranks and stuff like that. So like Christian Blumenfeld and Sam Long and guys like that who I've always been wanting to race over the last few years. So it was cool to be a part of that. Then the race sort of rolled around, and it was 70.3 distance, freshwater lake swim, wetsuit legal. So I can't remember exactly how many, but I think there were probably around 60 to 65 of us starting, and a pontoon start, which is quite rare for a 70.3. So it was really rough, quite a physical swim. And I didn't have the best start. I sort of was in the middle just due to my ranking, and sort of got swamped a little bit around the first buoy, but I was able to sort of make up a bit of time, but came out a little bit further back than I was anticipating, but still in a decent position, still very much part of the race. And then the bike was undulating hills, but the roads were really fast, and the first 20k was on a freeway, and I was just full gas the whole time. Like, I think it took me nearly 10 Ks for me to find a good time to put my shoes in, which is sort of something that I haven't had to do since I was racing short course. And then, with the pace was just on. I was in between the two groups. So I was sort of with a few people trying to catch the lead pack of maybe 15 at this stage, which included the eventual race winners and podium getters. And then in the pack behind me were probably all of the renowned Uber bikers like Lionel Sanders and Sam Long, Christian Blumenfeld, like those guys. So I sort of, in hindsight, probably should have waited until they caught me and potentially had a bit more power and energy left in the legs to sort of go with them, because by the time they caught me at sort of 35-40k, I was quite gassed, and we were only sort of 15-20 seconds off the next people ahead of us, which Lionel and Sam ended up closing that gap. But when they passed me, I'd lost their wheels and ended up quite isolated for the rest of the bike. I think I came off the bike probably around 25th to 28th sort of area, and which was sort of a little bit behind of what I was hoping to do, but the level of competition was still so high. And the run was really hilly, so the first sort of 3k was pretty much just a constant uphill grind out of transition, and then it sort of leveled out for a kilometre or two, and then had sort of like a long 3 or 4k stretch of undulating downhill back to transition. It was 2 laps of that, so it made it quite hard on the legs, especially having a long period of downhill running. Happy with the first lap of the run, but then sort of lost a few places on the second lap and ended up finishing 33rd, which was definitely below what I was expecting to do on the race. But I think that being part of a race like that was a really cool experience and something I definitely will remember for a long time, and also gain some valuable lessons for hopefully more cracks at a World Championship race in the future across either 70.3 or Ironman. So after the World Champs, originally I was planning to come home and then do some races here for the rest of the year, but then had the opportunity, which I'm very grateful for, to stay in Europe for a little bit longer. Part of the reason was because I found another couple of races that I could do, and also because my sister was doing the under 23 World Championships across the ITU, sprint Olympic distance. So she was racing in Pontevedra, which is on the other side of Spain, 3 weeks after World. So I decided that I would stay on and watch her. So I had to get the all clear from the bike shop to start a bit later. So thanks guys for giving me a few extra weeks off. Did the race in Finland, the World Champs, and then 3 weeks after that was 70.3 Knocker Heist in Belgium, which that was also another really hard race. It was a lot of Belgium and Germans got there. I think that was another really big race, like 40 to 50 people on the start line. Really sort of a different conditions to what I've ever raced in before. It was sort of quite cold. I think it was 12 degrees and raining and quite windy. And they actually banned using disc wheels for that race just because of the wind. More so like crosswinds and headwinds. I didn't really feel much tailwind, but maybe that's just because due to the fatigue of racing. But a lot of rough roads and really narrow roads through farms and stuff. I ended up coming 18th that race, which is not the greatest result, but it was a really deep field. Like Peter Heinrich won. He got second at the PTO Singapore, so he's certainly a world-class athlete, like top 10 in the PTO. Just the depth of the guys living over in Europe, like in Belgium and Germany, like they're guys that I'd never heard of, who were just so strong. And I think there was only, between sort of the top 20, there was I think only 7 or 8 minutes separating the 25th and the podium or something like that, I read. So it was really packed racing, which is different to what I have experienced before. So that was a good race to be a part of, but certainly not what I was hoping to achieve in the end. But I sort of used that as a good learning experience as well to bring back for my last 2 races of the year in Australia, which were Noosa and Busselton Ironman Western Australia. So I decided to do Noosa just because I haven't actually done an Olympic distance since Mooloolaba last year, which was in March. And also I knew that it was going to be like a really world-class field coming over with Hayden Wild, Matt Hauser, Henry Schumann, like those sort of guys doing Noosa. It was a really good opportunity that I didn't want to miss. So I sort of changed my training a little bit more top end speed for the run, and I was actually quite happy with my Noosa result. I came 7th, so behind I think four Olympians maybe, which was good, but I was certainly a long way off the pace. Like, those guys are definitely showed why they're world-class guys, breaking a really old, well, it was broken last year, but they put even more time into the course record. The two, Hayden and Matt up front, were just phenomenal on the day. But yeah, it was great race to be a part of, and I think that Noosa just keeps getting better and better. I've done three Noosas now, and just the atmosphere around the race and the bolt and the crit and everything that the weekend offers is amazing. So I did that, and then my last goal for the year was to improve upon my Ironman race that I did last year, and I decided to do the same one, which was in Western Australia. So that was 2 weeks ago now, in the first weekend of December, and that was another like crazy fast day as well. I feel as if every race I've done this year has just been like course records and Olympians and world-class guys show up, which is why you race. You want to race the best and sort of see where you sit in relation to those guys. But Daniel Bakkegaard ended up doing Ironman Western Australia and got the fastest ever Ironman done on Aussie soil, and I think maybe like the 4th fastest Ironman ever. He did 7:34, which is crazy. And then Matt Burton got the Aussie record for the Ironman, 7:40, and I was back in ninth in 8:16, which was faster than last year, but I definitely fell apart on the run. I had a good swim, was sort of out in the top 3 and in the lead group of about 7 on the early stages of the bike for the first 60k. But then when Daniel went, I just couldn't follow him. He was on another level, and took a few guys with him and come off the bike in I think 7th or 6th, and had a best I've felt in any distance running for the first maybe 15-20k, but then stopped for the toilet and just couldn't stop cramping after that, and was a walk, shuffle, and first time ever walking in a race, which was obviously disappointing. You never want to walk when you train to run, but the marathon blew out to a 3:08, which is a lot slower than what I wanted to do, but eventually got finished in 9th, and finished the season with Busselton, which is a good way to finish the season. As I said before, I've had pretty much the last 6 months been doing races with the best in the world, which has been awesome, and certainly given me a lot of motivation for the upcoming season to improve upon that. So I've had a couple of weeks off now after Busselton to sort of let the body recover and get over the race. But in 2024, I'm still sort of working through the race calendar, but I definitely want to do 70.3 Worlds again, which I haven't qualified for yet. So I'm going to be looking to qualify at either Tasmania 70.3 or Geelong 70.3. So they will be the first 2 races that I look at doing at the start of the year. The 70.3 Worlds are in Taupo in December next year, so I've almost got 12 months of preparation for it, which is really good. And as well, next year I really want to do another Ironman, and I'm thinking at this stage it'll be probably Ironman Australia at Port Macquarie. I think that'll work well, so I can focus on getting qualifying for Worlds for 70.3, and then focus on Ironman Australia. I think that I've been talking to a few people, and the course at Port Macquarie seems to be one that'll suit my strengths a little bit more, being a more bit of hillier bike and more undulating roads. Busselton's sort of just dead flat and straight, which is a little bit harder to train for, I think, living on the Gold Coast, just being a hilly having lots of hilly training routes. So I'm looking forward to hopefully doing Ironman Australia in May, and then Taupo 70.3 Worlds at the end of the year. After Ironman Australia, potentially maybe going overseas and doing some racing again. But at this stage I'm just sort of focusing on the first 5 months of the year and trying to get that ticket to Taupo sorted. So yeah, for the next little bit as well, I'll be at Mike's Bike. So if anyone ever needs a bike fit or some advice on bike or equipment or anything, you know where to find us on the Gold Coast Highway at Miami.